Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Unifi Talk ATA. This device was just released to the general public a couple weeks ago. We could use this device with our old analog devices such as phones or a fax machine. We're going to first take a closer look at the ATA and then we'll get it adopted into Unifi Talk and an analog phone connected to it. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. If you'd like to hire me for network consulting, visit www.mactelecomnetworks.com. You'd find me on Twitter at MacTelecomN, and if you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do so is to use my Ubiquity affiliate link, which I'll put in the description below. Now let's take a closer look at the Unifi Talk ATA. And this is the Unifi Talk ATA. At the top, we could see the Unifi logo, and then we have these three buttons, which we'll have to take a look at a little later. We have this digital display, and on the top we have a couple different ports. So we have a USB-C, which could power up the ATA, or we could have a PoE in. I'm going to be using a PoE in for this video. Then we have two different ports for our analog devices. So we could plug in two analog phones, or we could plug in an analog phone and a fax. And on the back, we have this slot where we would put in a wall mounting bracket, which we'll take a look at in a second. In the box, we also get this wall mounting template with a little level on it. A USB-C power cord if we're not going to be using PoE in. Comes with a bag of screw and anchors. And then we have two different mounting options. So this flat piece here would be if we're mounting it to the wall. All we would do is grab our ATA and then slide the mounting bracket in. They also give us this angled mount, which we would use if we were setting it on our desk. So to hook this up, it's the same thing. We just need to slide it in and then click. And now the ATA could sit on our desk. Now let's get the ATA hooked up. I'm using this analog phone that's powered by batteries. That's why we could see some stuff on the digital display. It says in use, no line. We need to get the ATA plugged into my USW16 PoE. This black cable is plugged into one of my switch ports. We're going to plug it in the PoE in. And we should see that digital display lighting up. We can see it says UI.com. From there, I have this RJ11 cable plugged into this analog phone, and we're going to plug it into port 1. Now let's go back to the computer, get the ATA adopted into our Unifi Talk controller. Before we get this adopted into Unifi Talk, there's a few things we need to do. But first I want to go over two of the other features. It supports fax pass-through using G.711, and then we could also connect this either by Ethernet or by Wi-Fi. I'm connected with PoE in, so I'm using Ethernet. We need to also go to my Unifi controller and put the ATA into my voice VLAN. So let's go do that. Now we're into my Unifi network controller and I have the ATA plugged into my USW Lite 16 PoE. We'll click on ports and we could see that this is running fast Ethernet. So this ATA is only going at 100 megabits per second. I need to go over to port profile and then I need to select my VoIP network and then press apply changes. We can go back to the port and do a power cycle on it for it to get an IP quicker. Now in our Unifi Talk, if we go over to devices, we could see the ATA there and it's ready to be assigned. So let's click on it. It says device unassigned, we need to assign it. Now it says assign UT ATA 3807 to new users and we have both of our lines, line 1 and line 2. We're only using line 1 in this video. I'll select which person I want to give line 1 to. I'll just put it as myself and then we'll press assign. And we could see that it took my Unifi Talk number. I have a Unifi Talk subscription through them, and this is the number. If we had a line 2, we could assign that to a different number as well. Now let's take a look at the settings of the ATA. We could see our call experience. It's been at 100%. I haven't placed any calls. We could see the device name, the status, which is online, and the model. The MAC address, the IP address, device uptime, and the firmware version it's currently on. And then we could see who line 1 and line 2 are assigned to under the user. And then we could see the number and the outgoing number. And we could see the extension of the ATA. Under call log, we could see some logs. And then we have our settings wheel. So this device name, we could switch it to whatever we want. We could reassign the device. And then we could see the device update. We could restart the device or we could forget the device. And then we have two different options for advanced configuration. We have enabled T.38 protocol line 1 or we have enabled T.38 protocol for line 2. So really that's it for the setup of the ATA to an analog phone. They do show a couple things on the screen, so let's take a look at that. Our ATA is now all set up and we could see a couple different things on the screen. This extension, the analog extension, is taking 0001. We have a voicemail button, we have do not disturb, and then we have menu, and we have the date and the time. Let's click on menu. And the status is going to show us our IP, our subnet, our default gateway, the MAC address, firmware version, and that's it. And number 2 in the menu is our settings. So in our settings, we could set up the 24-hour time. We could do the auto backlight. We could upload a support file, factory reset, or we could do a firmware update. Now, if we want to set this phone on Do Not Disturb, we don't want anybody to be able to call it. All we need to do is click this middle button, which is the DND. And we could see that there's this little stop sign looking thing, and that will prevent calls from coming to this phone. We can also click this voicemail button, and this voicemail button is going to make the phone ring, and you could hear that in the background. Picking it up will bring us to our Unifi Talk voicemail for this extension. Now I'm going to call into the phone number from my cell phone, and we should see this analog phone ringing. And there you go. You could hear that that's going off, and I'm calling in from my cell. Now we could also dial extension to extension, and I'll dial this extension from one of my Unifi Talk phones. And now we could hear that that's working. Our Unifi Talk phone is calling our analog phone. So that's it to the ATA. I don't have a fax here, so I wasn't able to show that off. But it should be a fairly similar process to get that working. If you have a bunch of analog phones in your deployment and you don't want to upgrade or pay the price to go to VoIP phones, you could buy the analog ATA for $19 USD. I think it's a very simple device to use and very easy to bring into Unifi Talk. If you have any questions about this video, please leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to support the channel, please use my Ubiquiti affiliate links. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.